enterprises in Zambia constitute about 97% of total enterprises and account for approximately 70% of GDP and 88% of employment. The budget strongly signals that government's emphasis on private sector-led growth. Therefore, the budget proposes several measures that advantage the MSME sector, and the most notable among them is the 61% proposed increase in funding to the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme. This measure will certainly be helpful in addressing the challenge of constrained access to affordable financing faced by most SMEs. The quantum of resources, nevertheless, is small in relation to the scale of demand for such services. Furthermore, the decision to increase the allocation of the empowerment funds head through the Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission and SME Development and Empowerment both by 5% is a good signal. However, we recognize that the amount is small compared to the requirements of this sector, even though this is complemented by the enhanced endowment to Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme. The government is also urged to boost the allocation to business empowerment programs in the future. Government must, in enhancing resources, they must recognize that these are revolving funds. If people borrow this money, they must pay back so that this money is available for other people to borrow. The problem we faced, especially with the Development Bank of Zambia, which has crashed, is that the level of bad loans was very high. 95% of the loans were delinquent. That is a disaster in the making. So as the money goes to the Citizens Empowerment Commission, the supervising authorities must implore upon this institution to ensure that the loans that it gives out are performing, that the people they lend money to are able to pay back, and there should be sanction against those who do not comply. So while access to affordable finance is being addressed, there's need for a holistic approach to address the other challenges impeding MSME development, such as burdensome licensing procedures, business skills limitation, access to markets, among others. Further, the government is urged to revisit its overall policy towards MSMEs to make for a more aggressive stance that sees the enhancement of support to MSMEs through expanded finance, business development, marketing, and training. In this regard, government is urged to expedite the formulation and enunciation of its long-awaited MSME policy. This has been, the Ministry of MSMEs has been working on this for some time, so we hope that they can come to the end of that process and give direction to this sector. On page 34.
So we need to summarize now.
Yes,
maybe within 2 minutes.
All right.
Yes,
yeah. I'm getting to the end, Honorable. So let me just finish by stating that in the rest of the sectors, manufacturing, MSMEs, and energy, the budget proposes credible measures to address challenges and promote growth too. To emphasize the private sector-led investment and the need for affordable financing, easing infrastructure development in these sectors. Overall, the 2024 budget in Zambia aims to promote economic growth, fiscal discipline, and sectoral development while addressing challenges and maximizing potential in key sectors. Under the circumstances, I think the budget has endeavored to address some of the challenges which are being faced. But what I would also stress is that this is a first budget after the debt restructuring agreement. So you'll notice that there's a lot of room, a lot of the debt servicing component have been left out. So this is the dividend coming from the agreement, that we now have more room in which to maneuver as a country. And we need to take advantage of that and not misuse it. Honorable Chair, I submit.
Okay, thank you. So let me note the hands, miss the hands. Let me see. Okay, sorry, honorable members. So we'll proceed like this. We'll allow Honorable Kafwaya, Honorable Jamba, Honorable Mutale. Then that's the first one. Then the last will be Honorable Nkulukusa and Honorable Chitotel. In that order. Please, one question and very brief. I will also expect our colleagues from ZIPAR to be very brief. We have given them almost about 30 minutes to take us through the submission, so they need to be brief also in terms of their responses. So I've heard my vice is saying there's no gender, so I'll use my discretion and give her there to also answer. Oh, that side. Okay. Let's see how we proceed. Honorable members, Honorable Kafwaya.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, I would like to appreciate you for the opportunity and also appreciate the witness for this very clear presentation. I would like to find out, in view of the increased constituency development fund, I hope the witness has the budget speech. If you go to page 32, where the expenditure schedule is, you will find that the minister has put 3 figures for constituency development fund. One of them is an outstanding figure. So he's providing 3.8 billion under Constituency Development Fund, and then under education, he has provided 942 million. So put those 2 figures together, you get your 4.7 billion for 2024. And then there is 2.8 billion outstanding for community projects. Now, this outstanding amount is for 2023. 2023 has not yet finished, but the minister has budgeted to disburse 2023 funds in 2024. Why do you think the minister should increase the CDF when in fact he knows he is unable to fund what was already appropriated by the Assembly? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Jamba.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, ZIPAR. The issue of the mobile transactions. These many people who do mobile transactions are just the common people. Just common people, ordinary people. Sometimes they do village banking, they transfer 3,000 kwacha, and then the bands you see, if you look in the budget, they'll tell you that anything above 10,000, 180 or something like that. Some people are saying that this is not unlocking the thing, this is locking the business. And some people would fight for levies to be scrapped on. Off, I mean. Do you think that, as ZIPAR, this levy, is it okay for us to say, no, let's not implement it or implement it? Because the big people like who do financial transactions from bank to bank, here is a company transferring 10 million US dollars from this bank to a transaction. Are they charged? Why should a person like me, who is just transacting a 5,000 kwacha to my mother, be charged that 8 tenge? Yet some business people are doing transactions from bank to bank, they're not being charged. Do you think this levy is actually a fair levy which is unlocking or it is locking? I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mutale.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Chair, allow me to thank ZIPAR for a very neat, presentable document they've brought to Parliament. This will go a long way. We shall take it to our constituency offices so that even when people come to our offices, they can read through these documents. I really appreciate this. Chairperson, ZIPAR has talked so much about CDF, and my question will be on CDF as well, because it appeared to be one of the monies that is being spoken about so loudly. ZIPAR, you'd note that you have also seen that there are leakages in the implementation and the way the finances are being managed in CDF. To try and ask a bitter question. Do you think that, and you having this experience of having known the councils from the past and presently today, they've always been cash struggling institutions. Do you think CDF should be trusted in the hands of councils, management, and its workers? I thank you.
Thank you. ZIPAR? Your mic?
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me start with Honorable Jamba's point. We agree with the position that you are putting across. We have reservations. As we said, we should allow this sector to grow because it's an alternative financial system. It's part of the process of financial inclusion, of bringing people who would normally be unbanked, people outside the financial sector, to be brought into the mainstream. This is part of the process of actually ensuring that when we undertake monetary policy in the future, if these people are operating with this monitorable financial sector, then we'll have more effective monetary policy. So we have reservations about imposing penalties or levies on this sector while it is still growing. It has not yet reached its peak. So we would be of the opinion that we should give this sector room to grow. So we agree with the position that you are putting across, that we should avoid at this stage imposing penalties, levies, on these transactions. Allow this sector to grow. Allow people to make maximum use of this sector. When it has reached a certain peak, when it has stabilized, then we can consider that. But at the moment when it's still growing, we don't want people to start looking for alternative avenues of transacting. On the CDF, we have been looking, we've actually been undertaking research. We've been to the ground, we've visited various communities, just look at the challenges and opportunities that that arise within CDF. In observing, we find that there's a lot of enthusiasm now that people have discovered this newfound power or the ability to oversee and direct resources. So there is that positivity. But then again, rules are rules, and they impose constraints in terms of how individuals can apply those funds. So we need to look at this CDF enhancement as a work in progress, that we are trying to experiment on a new approach to governance. And for me, even if there is a backlog of resources, I think as this institution gains momentum, I think the demand for resources will be even greater. Once we settle down and understand the process and the rules are very clear, the possibility, the demand for these resources will be even much higher than we can manage. So even if there's money which is being carried forward from previous years and we are still increasing the CDF, I'm very sure that within a certain period of time, I think the demand for these resources will surpass what is available. So I would not be too worried about that. So I think the CDF, Honorable Mutale, is it Honorable Mutale? Yes. I think it's a positive step. And when we've done our surveys, we've seen a lot of activity taking place. The committees are meeting at the ward level and so on. But yes, in the past, the councils have had problems. But what can we do? These are the institutions that we have. The alternative is to strengthen these institutions, capacitate them. Because these are the only institutions that we have. Unless you say these things should only be done at central government. But even at central government, you do have challenges. So capacitate those local institutions. Capacitate surveillance and audit of those institutions. That's the only way you can do that. Strengthen these institutions. What it exposes the weaknesses that are there, but it also tells you what are the opportunities for building capacity in these institutions? Because this is the only way to deliver development effectively.
Okay, Honorable Nkulukusa.
Chair, though you are strangling me, I just wanted to add something to this so that at least we got a full answer.
Under 30 seconds.
Thank you. CDF began here. Kenyans came and learned from here. This parliament has been to Kenya to benchmark, and we've seen how CDF is being done in that country. They've moved it away from central government, from the councils. This same office called Constituent Development Office for the MP, that's where they've put everything. Because even in Zimbabwe it's the same. Because this MP won't get a one-way from that money. He wants to develop his constituency. That's what is happening everywhere. Why don't you bring that same capacitation to this office?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So as you, we will go take note of that. Then as we go to the next round of questions, which I indicated. So we'll start with Honorable Nyirenda. She has a commitment somewhere, briefly. Honorable Nyirenda.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mpoko and Chair. The question that I have is in the health sector. We have suffered, I think, for quite a long time because of insufficient drugs, and our people have been dying. One of the alternatives which have been given is coming up with a manufacturing plant here in Zambia so that we can be able to, manufacture our own drugs. However, manufacturing requires fuel, and what we are seeing at the moment is that the price of diesel fuel it's not stable. How do you think we are going to manage to develop this sector with such instability of our fuels in our country, especially that we want to diversify and be able to make our own drugs here in Zambia?
Thank you. Honorable Nkulukusa.
Thank you very much, Chair. Since you said it's only one question, I'll abandon my question because I really need a clarification on one thing that was brought in by Honorable Jamba. Based on the principle of broadening the tax base, and we have always cried that we broaden the tax base. Today, if you look at some filling stations, I was refueling yesterday, full tank in my constituency at 10 miles. And I was told in the night we don't receive cash. It's Airtel money. This is how big this, you go to shops now, shopping malls, most of them are preferring you to pay using mobile money. Zara, at what used to be called, what is it, carousels, most of the time they will tell you, please, do you have mobile money? Have you taken time to understand how big this has become in terms of what chunk of the market? There are people today that will host, keeping 100,000 kwacha on their mobile cash money. If you go to Airtel to upgrade your SIM card, they are allowing you to do that. It is becoming a full-fledged banking system, and we are always crying of broadening the tax base. Should we wait until it is before we introduce, or we can start introducing these sharing of the tax burden slowly as this has seen to be grown? Okay. Because initially, personally, I used to think it is so small, it is dealing with my mother and what in the village, but unfortunately not. It has become so big. My wife belongs to one of the, what they use, using the same, they call it village banking. They are lending each other more than 100,000 kwacha in a month. So that's how big this has become. Should we leave it and say, let it continue to, when is it going to be called that it has grown? Or have you done any research to look at this? Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Chituzela.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for guiding, because I had questions, but I will just go for one.
Just one.
Dr. Mpoko, you went for the praise of growth in next year's budget as a proponent of growth in the manufacturing sector because of the limited borrowing. I hope you have the budget speech and the annual borrowing plan. I'm on the budget speech, Chair, for page 37, where the Minister says, Madam Speaker, 33.3 billion will be financed through debt in accordance with the annual borrowing plan. Of this amount, 16.3 billion will be domestic, and the 17 billion will be external. I come to the annual borrowing plan. On page number 2, domestic borrowing. The gross domestic borrowing for financial year 2024 is projected at 83.2 billion. 83.2 billion kwacha. Here, and this is a sub-minister of finance. In the budget speech, is proposing 16.3 billion as domestic borrowing. In the annual borrowing plan, is proposing 83.2 billion. And out of this, he begins then to segment. The 16.3 billion will be a net domestic the financing to finance the 2024 national budget, with the remainder being used to refinance maturities falling due during the course of the year. We don't know the instruments for 2024 the minister is going to use. We can only assume that we don't know the instrument the minister is going to use to refinancing the maturities. It's like you are taking money from the left pocket, you are putting it to the right pocket. You borrow from John to pay James. It still remains the debt. How then do you enhance and corroborate that 2024 budget? It is actually 174 or 977 billion, and not 200 and something, and 218 billion. If the minister is going to borrow 83 billion, and in the annual budget plan, he's putting 16 billion, that this is the money he will borrow from the domestic market. In the annual plan is giving us, is going to borrow 83 billion from the domestic market. How do we balance up the budget? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable members, let's do this. I have 2 members who need to step out, but they have questions. Let me ask Honourable Squala to. So I'll ask our colleagues from ZIPAR to respond from the question asked by Honourable Nyirenda, and then Honourable Squala. Then you will deal with the others. So let us allow Honourable Squala to. Honourable Squala.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Your mic.
Thank you. ZIPAR, I'm taking you back to agriculture. I'm happy with your comments about FISIP. But I want to hear your comment on the issue of these loans coming to public service workers to do with agriculture. Bearing in mind the fact that this country, we seem to have a very, very bad attitude towards loans. Right now, CEC, people are failing to pay. We are now grappling with the CDF loans. People seem to just be very negative. Lima Bank was closed because of loans. Do you see this to be a feasible venture, especially that already our public service workers seem to be stressed with the other loans from other lending institutions? Just your comments. Thank you.
Okay, ZIPAR, you can respond to those. We'll take the last one, the last round. So you have 4 questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can you start first with this? We'll start with the question raised by Honorable Stotela. Just respond to that first.
Thank you, Honorable Stotela, for that question. We're just going through the annual borrowing plan. So I think what is cardinal is to understand the terminologies. So when you're talking about, if you read the sentence, it says gross domestic financing for the year will be 83.2 billion. So when they talk about gross domestic financing, they also include maturities, so the loans that are going to actually mature in 2024. Then when they talk of net domestic borrowing, it's only the borrowing that's going to occur in 2024 to finance the 2024 national budget, and does not include any maturities. So any loans that were contracted before 2024 and will be maturing in 2024 will fall under gross domestic borrowing, but will not fall under net domestic borrowing. So even when you're calculating the fiscal deficit, we do not include any maturities when we're calculating the deficit. So when you look at the expenditure side, we'll not include any of the maturities falling in that fiscal year. So when we're calculating the deficit, we don't include any maturities. So that's why you can see, I wouldn't call it a discrepancy, but that's why you can see that difference in the figures. It's just, I think, differentiating the terminologies, what is gross and what is net.
Honorable Chitotela, through the chair. Witness, can you continue?
So, yeah. Honorable Chitotela, I think the maturities will be paid in 2024, and they will fall under gross domestic borrowing. But then when you look at net domestic borrowing, it's only to finance the operations of the 2024 national budget. So even when you calculate the deficit of the 2024 national budget, it does not include any gross domestic borrowing. Any maturities that are going to mature in 2024 are not part of the deficit of 2024. Because when we're calculating the deficit, we don't include maturities. I hope that's clear.
Sure. Next. Honorable members,
I raised the question why I raised chair. The domestic maturity is money that will be borrowed from the financial institutions to pay the debt.
Honorable Chitotela, order, please. Switch off your mic. I have not given the floor to honorable members. Please, let's manage the time. We have a lot of time. We can swing engage our colleagues. I know we need a lot of clarification, and I'm not blaming you for that. This issue has been, in fact, been coming. It's just a matter of the time. So we'll still engage. ZIPAR, you see, these members, we need a lot of explanation of that, but we don't have the time now for that. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's respond to the others. Honorable members, bear with me.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Nurenda talked about manufacturing plant from pharmaceuticals. This is a wider question of local production, value addition within the country. But she referred to the unstable price of fuel. The unfortunate thing, she's not here. Huh? Oh, okay. So the question, the real question that she's raising is the instability of the fuel price. Now the problem we have is that the fuel price is essentially out of our control. It's not something which they can be determined by the government. If a government determines the fuel price or controls the fuel price, it also must accept responsibility for financing any discrepancy. What I think is that government must progressively move towards a process of finding ways of stabilizing the movements of prices in the fuel. Maybe establish some kind of a price stabilization fund which will minimize the fluctuations in the prices of fuel. But if the price of oil has gone up substantially on the international market, there's very little that we can do as a country about it. Somebody has to bear the cost. Either the government says they're going to subsidize that price, which presents a serious knock on the budget, or they pass that cost fully to the users of that fuel. This is a reality we face. Everybody in the global world.
Honorable Kamboni, sorry, we don't have the quorum boss. If you move out, then we are done. Sorry. Sorry, ZIPAR.
Let me finish quickly for the sake of the honorable members, so we don't, our meeting doesn't expire. Let me finish quickly, honorable. So yes, so I think the problem is the fluctuating fuel price. It goes through wild swings, but there's nothing that we can do about it. We just have to perhaps establish mechanisms of mitigating the price fluctuations by establishing maybe a stabilization fund. But in the short term, we unfortunately have to live with these adverse circumstances. It's outside of our control. Yes, I'm in two minds about what Honorable Mkulukusa mentioned. We need to grow. We need to grow this sector. We need to grow as rapidly as possible, unhindered. I cannot predict. Right now, I've given you the figure. I said 294 billion transactions in that sector. There are a lot of people who are using this increasingly. So it has currency. It is moving. And I would like it to grow as much as possible unhindered without people making shortcuts or bypassing it. As to when would be most appropriate is a debatable point. But this thing, the way I would observe it, is it's in its infancy. It's just starting. When you talk about Kenya and other places, those are much more established now. They are solid institutions. So let us grow it. Let us make sure it is functioning fully and properly. Let us not limit it. Let us not kill the goose before it lays the golden egg. I think I've covered the questions, Honorable. We started with the borrowing, then we talked about Honorable Sitwala.
Yeah,
Honorable Sitwala.
Agriculture is
Honorable on the loans to the public service workers. Oh wow. My colleague here wants to borrow money for his farm plot. But I must say this, Honorable, much as it is a good thing to make these resources available to public service workers, as a matter of agricultural policy, and I'm talking about agricultural policy, boosting agricultural output, I think for me, that program has nothing to do with agricultural.
Honorable Mandandi, Honorable members, the quorum is down. Sorry, ZIPAR, we can't continue. Just wait a bit. Okay, let ZIPAR finish, just under 2 minutes. ZIPAR can finish.
Just to finish my sentence, we're talking about agricultural policy, boosting output. And I think if that is the focus, we must make sure that the people who are dedicated farmers, those who focus on farming, are the ones who are encouraged as much as possible. When you talk about civil servants getting this assistance, for me, I see it as additional support to strengthen their own private economic status. It's not something which should be necessarily part of overall agricultural policy. So I have reservations. It's okay to provide loans as a way of facilitating and supporting the civil servants, but it is not part of agricultural policy. It is not the one which is going to be the game changer in terms of boosting agricultural output. I think the way to go is to ensure that farming operates as a business, okay? That people who are dedicated farmers are the ones who go into this particular area and are facilitated as much as possible. So I'm sorry I don't subscribe so strongly to this idea of public service workers, or rather I put the point across that we support them to strengthen their financial and economic status for the few things they grow behind the yards or in the small plot, but it should not be a part of long-term agricultural policy. Long-term agricultural policy should sit in things like CATSIP and similar programs. That's my view.
Thank you. ZIPAR, this is where we come to the end of our interactions with yourselves. Couple of the laws of Zambia in terms of the immunity, that which was conferred on you earlier on. Also, NDA, thank you very much for coming and for this interaction. As you can see, a lot of members who have questions outstanding, but because of the time, we can't continue. So thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Members.
Thank you.
You can now advertise on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. For more information, call 0977 854102 or 0977 536487. Parliament Television, bringing Parliament closer to you.
On the Vice President's question time.
Questions for oral answer understanding order number 76.
For a matter to be admitted, it has to be of recent occurrence.
Continue watching Parliament TV, a channel dedicated to bring Parliament closer to you.
Parliament is open to members of the general public who may wish to undertake familiarization tours of Parliament buildings, either in groups or as individuals, or to attend sittings of the House or parliamentary committees. All those wishing to visit Parliament can either write to the Clerk of the National Assembly or simply come to Parliament buildings. Upon arrival at Parliament buildings, visitors are required to identify themselves. A passport or national registration card is required for identification purposes. Those to whom permission is granted to sit in the visitors' galleries will be ushered to the appropriate galleries by protocol officers. Before gaining access to the galleries, all visitors will be issued with passes by the Security Department at the Media and Visitors Center. All visitors to parliamentary premises are required to wear smart attire, either office or casual wear. Furthermore, visitors are not allowed to take with them into the galleries such articles as walking sticks, umbrellas, briefcases, or parcels of any type, newspapers, magazines, or cellular phones. All such articles must be deposited at the reception desk. Visitors to the galleries are given copies of the order paper, which shows the order in which the business for that particular day would be taken.
All right, guys, listen. We've been doing these sessions for a while now. And it seems like there's a wall that you guys have placed and none of you is willing to break it down. Because you just don't want to see past each other's imperfections. But I want to tell you this, there's beauty in those imperfections. If you just take the time to see it. So I'm going to ask you guys to do something for me. Take a little trip. Maybe out of town, get to know each other again. And hopefully before our next session, things might be different. But all I'm asking is that you try. Are you willing to try?
Imperfect. Yeah. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Caught me with those imperfect eyes. I fell in love with Love is a beautiful thing. Love is in everything. Even a diamond ring. Or even a coffee stain. Love makes us do crazy things. Things that'll make you cringe. The feeling of angel wings. Like you could do anything. So if you choose to see, I know you'll believe that in a perfect beat, you will find perfect peace. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Caught me with those imperfect eyes. I fell in love with imperfect you. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Caught me with those imperfect eyes. I fell in love with imperfect you. Or maybe I'm insane. Or maybe I'm just late. But something about you, babe, makes me love an imperfect being. Maybe I'm insane. Or maybe I'm just late. But something about you, baby, makes me love an imperfect being. Love is an endless river. Love can calm the weather. Love can walk on water. Well, love can take you deeper. Love don't have no color. It holds us all together. Love is not a breaker. Love's always a giver. So if you choose to see, then I know you'll believe. Then an imperfect peace is this perfect peace. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Caught me with those imperfect eyes. I fell in love with imperfect you. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Caught me with those imperfect eyes. I fell in love with imperfect you. Or maybe I'm insane. Or maybe I'm just a
and when you appear before a committee like this one, so meaning that whatever you say whilst appearing in this committee, that which you say cannot be used against you in any court of law. So take advantage of that provision, and also just to indicate that we are live on both Parliamentary Radio and Parliamentary TV, so our people out there are following the proceedings. We have your submission, which is about 22 pages. I would request you that maybe if you are able to do a brief summary of your presentation, say maybe between 15 and 20 minutes, so that then we can allow another 10 minutes from the members, so we will not keep you longer than that. Having said that, you can start.
Thank you very much, Chair. We hope we'll keep within that time limit as well.
You can just put your mic closer to you, since we are, so that our colleagues also are following.
Thank you very much for quoting us the time, and as usual, making us feel comfortable with our sharing of our thoughts and contribution to the national process. We were asked to make comments, observations related to these issues, the effect of the national budget on economic sectors, particularly look at the fiscal framework, that is the expenditure and revenue side of the budget, as well as monetary policy, which again is really essentially issues of money supply, interest rates, and exchange rates within the economy, and inflation, and more or less outside the purview of the Ministry of Finance, in that it's anchored with the central bank. And comment on the stabilization measures that are going on, as well as, of course, the debt. We may not touch on all of those. That was quite a mouthful, but nevertheless, we'll try to keep, make, to respond to those issues that are pertinent. We note that in terms of the overall presentations and the evidence adduced and presented so far, the committee is pretty much well informed, and that allows us perhaps to shift a little bit from quantitative presentation of data and figures, and try to focus more around the relationships and what those relationships of the variables that are key within the budget mean for the implementation of the budget, and if they have any spillovers and consequences beyond the budget, which they do have. We clearly caught up in the debt overhang. Those effects continue to manifest themselves and impact our economic performance. So there is no question or doubt about that. It also affects the fiscal space in terms of the ability of the government to not only generate the money, but what they spend on. Because of the debt overhang, they are tied up to servicing the debts and payments, repayments. So that takes away the fiscal. Are concerned with is just last month we had updated figures on poverty. We've seen rural poverty increasing. We see absolute poverty in the urban areas increasing. And so when you link that to unlocking the potential, then you have to think of the 70% of your population and what that means for them. This is something, as I said, that we are concerned with, and we thought a little bit more attention should have been paid towards addressing that. In any event, we hope that the decisions around the resources in terms of how they are allocated to the sectors are done in a way that will help to stabilize the economy, go beyond stabilization, because stabilization in itself perhaps is not that important, but you want to achieve your growth, and you want to achieve your redistribution of income to be able to create that wealth that you seek. We look at the monetary policy and try to look at the harmony between the monetary policy, what's happening in the monetary policy on one hand, and also what's happening to fiscal policy. We've seen a very tight contractionary monetary policy, and we are seeing in this budget, because of the decisions for the government to reduce expenditure, to some extent, a contractionary fiscal policy. We see no movement on taxes in terms of generating more income, and in this sense, one again has a perception that we may be favoring, large companies because the mining companies, for instance, your mineral royalty tax measures policy framework remains unchanged, which means they're essentially exempt. So you are constraining your own revenue base. And as we shall see again, Zambia's revenue generation potential remains pretty poor within the SADC region. We can do better. These are our usual indicators. The only thing there is we see our declining GDP growth, and we see the increasing inflation and partial depletion of our foreign exchange reserves. Perhaps that is not exactly something that is worrying for now, but these are indicators and the trends that we need to be concerned about and try to monitor carefully to see that they don't worsen over the next preceding months. The good thing is government is exercising some impressive, admittedly, fiscal discipline, and that should help by reducing the fiscal deficit, help inflation, help the exchange rate, and overall try to maintain some stability within the economy. So that is also something that is of interest we like to highlight. So I was talking about the fiscal framework and how Zambia, we can see the dotted line there, the blue, second from the bottom. Malawi is right at the bottom in terms of the tax revenue generation mobilization as a share of GDP. We've averaged around 17%. Not very impressive. We see Malawi is down around about 10%. We don't want to go that way, obviously. But we look at the gap with the other countries, well, Mozambique, Namibia. So that's where we've got to start questioning also our ability, our Zambia Revenue Authority and its capacity to be able to have innovative and the kind of outreach that will tap into those potential areas that exist for revenue generation. Our monetary policy lately has been, as I said, contractionary. Reserve ratios have increased, so banks again are limited in terms of how much they can lend because of those increases by the central bank. Interest rates are going up. The inflation, which is the target, is going up. By focusing on increasing interest rates, again, the central bank is, in a way, allowing the contraction of money supply, and that is affecting availability of savings. It's affecting availability or activities that could allow investments and therefore creating the capital formation that we need, bringing in technology that we need, bringing about change in agriculture and particularly agriculture and manufacturing that we need. That is not quite happening from what we see in terms of what the central bank is doing. And as I was saying, the government itself is holding back on expenditure. So that limitation in expenditures, again, will not drive the consumption. And we would like the consumption increasing within the economy so that that spurs demand and that provides an attraction for investment or production in any case. So you have these two policy frameworks which could be used at this particular time to try and foster events, economic events in the country in a more positive manner, which perhaps is not quite happening as the budget has been formulated. So we look at the sector performance, and the real sector, agriculture, manufacturing, and so on, have been a bit depressed over the last few years. So we would like to see some positive change in there. There are some incentive measures that have been announced, but the question is whether these will go far enough in the short run to be able to provide the necessary incentives and see the kind of investments that we would like to opening up of the sector. But again, we would like to draw linkage of manufacturing to agriculture, because we are not trying to harness those linkages. We may not unlock this potential in quite the time frame that we could. So there's some things that we could do better there. So if we had more incentives other than the focus on the large-scale commercial farming that we're talking about in the budget as the opportunity, within the farming blocks such as Nansanga and so on, and not ignore the small-scale farmers. Perhaps they would be better prospects. Okay, so again, we just show the overview of how those sectors have been performing over time. There is this focus on mining, as I said, and we perhaps would like to see a little bit less focus on mining. It seems that we have a trade-off, and negative one for that matter, where agriculture and manufacturing are concerned. Least of all the fact that agriculture provides us perhaps with the most immediate mechanism of eliminating or managing rural poverty, at least, the inequalities that are growing in society, which we should be concerned about. Because that's one of the key functions of the budget, is the redistribution of the wealth. It is not quite, if it's not talking about it, then one thinks that the measures may not be consistent with those attempts to try and minimize the inequalities. And we can see it's favoring the large-scale firms, favoring the large-scale farmers in terms of the intended incentives and conducive environment that is being created. FISIP is being reduced. Last year's figures, 9 billion. This year we are down to 8 billion. And you think, well, there's something that is not quite right here. And then things have to be revisited. The social sector, again, hope for particularly the poor, because services in education services, health services are one way of mitigating poverty. Now, the health sector in particular has fared pretty badly over the last 2 years. Ignoring it and not having appropriate measures, perhaps in terms of resource allocation, may not be a good indicator. But we see, in all fairness, that the drug budget seems to be fairly well resourced. Then the question becomes one of trying to follow up on what exactly is going wrong in terms of accountability. And those are elements of the financial regulations and so on, perhaps a little bit beyond the budget, but it is anchored in there. So there is really no reason why things should not be performing better within the health. Education is doing a little bit better than health, but again, we need to go back and ask questions around why the poor performance in terms of the indicators concerning the financial resources in health are not doing as well as they should. We've talked about agriculture and talked about the fiscal deficit and how that is also being well managed. But worry concerning the financial support to the small-scale farmers in terms of FISIP, which I don't think you can blame the user if they are willing and there are problems in terms of the system. Those are systemic and should not be the ones to, the beneficiaries should not be the ones to suffer. So perhaps calls for how the system can be made more efficient is really what we should be discussing, not reducing productivity or the capacity to produce. Okay, and in a way that is really the end of our presentation. So we would simply like to highlight that we would like to see a refocus on agriculture, a refocus on manufacturing, a loosening, more flexible monetary policy and fiscal policy to bring down those interest rates, to try and increase availability of funds that are available for savings and investments, and also to try and get more incentives for our manufacturing sector and the linkages between the manufacturing sector and the agricultural sector. And not least, but to get our social sector performing better with more resources that they are currently than are currently being received, or even on the basis of what they are receiving. Wupe?
I think he's mentioned all the key issues that we wanted to bring across. But apart from that, I must mention that in spite of having all these issues that he has brought about and what we need to face moving forward, we should also not ignore the adverse effect of climate change. Climate change is a reality and it's something that we need to face. Climate change is likely to affect the policies that have been set up in agriculture in terms of the small-scale farmers. These small-scale farmers are depending on rain-fed agriculture. So it might, moving forward, we might need to look into the adverse effect of climate change. Apart from that, it also likely to affect the electricity sector. More than 80% of our electricity sector depends on hydroelectricity. This is likely to affect other sectors as well, because electricity is an important ingredient in other sectors, and we are bound to experience, if we experience low rainfall, it means that the amount that we are targeting to generate is going to reduce, which is going to lead to more load shedding, and we already know that load shedding is going to affect other sectors in the economy. Apart from that, we also have the tourism sector. It depends on electricity. The tourism sector was a sector that was hard hit in terms of the pandemic, and over the years, the past 2 years, we have seen that it has actually improved in terms of performance. And if we're unlocking the economic potential of the economy, the tourism sector has shown that it has got great potential to even go higher in spite of it being affected by the pandemic. Also, another thing that my colleague maybe did not mention is youth unemployment. Right now, the population of Zambia is about 56% are youth, and 90% of them are unemployed. Those that are employed mainly in the informal sector. Yes, the government has put in place a good proposal in terms of development of industrial yards as well as youth empowerment. But apart from that, we also have to think of the skills that these youths have. There's a lot of skills mismatch that exists for the youths. Employers are saying that they are getting youths to work for them that cannot do the work because they are not adequately trained. So there is need for the government to look into skills development for these youths. So that I think adds on to his contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honourable members, any questions? My left. Okay. I'm looking at my left. Any? Okay. Honourable Samakai. Honourable Mukosa. Then the last two will be the Honourable Nkulukusa, and then I'll do the last one, then we'll close. Honourable Samakai.
Thank you very much, Chair. Witness, you have alluded to the fact that there are no inadequate skills among our youths. You are aware that there is a component under the Constituency Development Fund that is going towards ensuring that our youths acquire skills. Does it mean that that is not enough in your view, especially if it continues for a long time to come?
Thank you. Honourable Mukosa.
Thank you. Witness, you lamented on the issue of rising interest rates. So I want to find out from you the comment that you would make on the usage of the statutory reserve ratio and the monetary policy rate in intervening in the volatility of the foreign exchange rate. Because what I see is that that does less, but impacts highly on the interest rate. What's your comment, sir?
Thank you. Then Honourable Nyirenda.
Thank you very much. University of Zambia, I'm getting a bit worried, especially you coming from the greatest institution which is offering education, and you are talking about a mismatch of the skills that the country needs. You as a university, are you tailoring the courses to be able to meet the needs of our economy so that we can be in a position to develop, especially that you are coming from the University of Zambia? And are you satisfied with the education policy that is prevailing at the moment, which gives a serious burden on the government to employ them in the formal sector and not in the private sector? I submit.
Thank you. UNZA, you can respond to those.
Okay, so I'll start with the first question. In terms of, we have programs that are in place that are trying to develop the skills of the youth. However, the question that was asked is it enough, in my view? It depends on the skills that they're getting. They're getting skills quite all right, and to some extent, these skills are enough. In certain sectors, but there are also other sectors where we've interacted with employers and they have said that the skills that I need, the youths do not have them, so I need to take them for retraining. I need to take them out there and be retrained. So it's good that there are some policies that have been put forward to enable the youth to get skills, but what I'm simply saying is that we also need to ensure that they get the necessary skills, the skills that are needed by the employer. And then for the last question, in terms of education, when we talk of skills, we're not just talking of those that are passing through UNZA. There are also other universities and colleges and institutions that are offering skills training. From my views, I think UNZA is trying what it can, given what it has, and it's trying to ensure that it produces graduates that are able to perform in the labor market with the skills that are needed in the labor market. However, there are also other institutions where youth are going and they're not getting the adequate skills because of the quality of education. This is something that has been highlighted in the budget, where we're trying to improve the quality of education, the quality of teachers that are providing these skills. We're trying to improve all these things. So it's something that it's known that there's a bit of skills mismatch that exists in various sectors. If you interact with the mining sector, they'll tell you that they need certain specialized skills that they're not getting from the Zambian labor market. So they're getting them from outside. Even if you look at it in terms of building houses, right now there's great competition from foreigners who are coming, and they can do a better job than the youth that we have who are operating in that market. And that has to do with skills. There is a bit of skills mismatch that exists. I don't know, Dr. Bona?
Okay, your mic.
Our human capital policy it's as though it doesn't really exist, because it doesn't really articulate and recognize the full potential. So as Bupe was saying, we are then limited with these constraints on how much we can invest in human resource. And the skills training is taking place, but taking place under limited resources. If we are to want to recognize this as part of the development process, and that it's human resource, human skills first and foremost. It's the knowledge, in short, that will provide an anchor to shift and transform the thinking in terms of attitudes, innovations, and so on. Then we have to make the decisions and make those investments. But look at the education budget over the last 4 years. It was hardly around 12–13%. And that has changed a little bit. CDF, yes, but CDF is kind of ill-defined. It is there, it's ad hoc. I don't think that's the way you want to function in terms of the development process. You want to be a little bit more strategic, deliberate, and make committed allocations that are linked to clear targets. We are missing that. It's not even in our national development plan, unfortunately. Now, the other question is on how Bank of Zambia, I guess, so to say, has its approach in intervening in the economy. And, well, these are the tools available to the central bank or any central bank. It's a question of how they use these tools and what their objectives are. Our central bank right now is set on focusing on some rate of interest, achieve that, and also some rate of inflation. Is that something worthwhile to do? Are these targets really that much of a concern that if we went over them, at least in terms of the rate of inflation, or if the interest rates decreased, would have a serious emergency, we have some emergency in the country? I don't believe so, and this is why I think we were saying, can we see some flexibility in our monetary policy so that we are able to come to some reduction in interest rates, and even if that means that the rate of inflation stays at the same level, at least you have a response from your private sector, in particular, who we've put outside the economic participation environment. We're excluding them. And then we're saying, well, here's unlocking the potential. With a sector that you've excluded, you start needing some miracles for things to change. So this is what I think the core is. That Bank of Zambia should recognize the need to spur productivity. While it's good to try and keep inflation low, is that the cost to pay?
Okay, Professor, on page 16, there's where the government is planning to spend about 260 million for the National Geophysical Survey. Basically, we are hoping that this can promote investments in the mining sector. Now, I'm just looking to see that from where we are with all these weak mining policies in terms of monitoring. Won't this just open a Pandora box now whereby people would have known where these mines are sitting, and we don't have strong policies in terms of monitoring? Don't you see an increase in terms of illegal mining coming up as a result of that? That's number one. Then the second one, are you proposing an increase of FISIP? I've heard in your submission where you're saying the allocation in that direction is reducing. Okay, honorable members, then the last two questions will come from Honorable Mwambas and Honorable Dr. Kalila. Honorable Mwambas.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Professor. Mwambazi, I chair Public Accounts Committee. I just wanted to find out from your presentation, you highlighted that the mining sector hasn't been performing well because it's not the incentives have not been effective. So I just wanted to understand, because if I look at the mining sector, it's a sector which is got a lot of incentives compared to other sectors in this country. And also should bear in mind that even as we give these incentives, we need to balance, because then we deplete our tax base to that effect, which culminates into us not having a lot of domestic resource mobilization. So I just wanted to understand how the incentives in the mining sector have been ineffective. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Dr. Kalila.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. I just want a clarification, just a small one, Chair, from the presenter who alluded.
Could speak close to your mic, sir.
Yeah, so Chair, the presenter alluded to the fact that the education sector is doing better than the health sector. I wanted to understand the basis of that statement, why he thinks the health sector is not doing as well as the educational sector is doing. What benchmarks have informed your statement, sir? Thank you.
Okay, Professor, can you respond to those?
The issue of regulation and adherence in mining is an issue that at the current time leaves clearly there's a void and it needs to be strengthened. The organization of the sector itself and how to perhaps foster formalize the small-scale miners and let them participate effectively. We've seen lessons from countries like Ghana, cooperatives and so on, and how those can be managed effectively and be regulated so that there's greater accountability. However, we haven't done that, and we are not talking. There is a mention of mining regulatory authority, so whether that law will encompass such measures so that the intervention is appropriate. One can only hope that that's what will also happen, so that we reduce on all these leakages that we have in the system. Right now, if I go to Serenge, there will be 101 manganese mines and nobody knows, well, and other things, of course, not just manganese. Nobody has a clue in terms of the Ministry of Mines as to who's having access to what. So that needs to be curtailed, and that comes back then to Parliament, and this is where our Board of National Affairs sits, and will have to take on a more active role in terms of managing our resources and oversight institutions. Our agriculture is again dependent, 60% of output and so on small-scale farmers. There are inefficiencies in terms of how FISIP flows or leakages end up with the beneficiaries. But again, these are system issues. There's no doubt that productivity in agriculture has been influenced from the time, positively from the time FISIP was introduced in this country. When we look at the subsidies that are being paid out to farmers. You go to Europe, you go to the US. I think in Europe, the amount, the various types of subsidies, the minimum I was able to tabulate once was about 7 going to farmers, as high as 21, from encouraging green technology methods to outright subsidy for certain crops and or livestock. And while we are differently endowed in terms of wealth, but having proven that FISIP does elicit productive response from our farmers, the question becomes, why don't we give the farmers that incentive? Why don't we have greater accountability, stem those leakages, and try to promote agriculture, which we know in any case is really what's going to drive this country forward. And brings me to the next question of incentives for mining. The responses from the mines have not been responsive, well, I don't think they've matched what we should have expected from them in terms of the potential the mining houses have in giving back to the country. We've gone out of our way to give all these incentives. They've gone out of their way to make sure we receive the minimum possible. And as I said, we'll not really focus on the figures in our presentations, but these figures are there, the studies are there, and we can document those if need be. But this is based on the existing evidence, our approach to mineral royalty tax, and our approach to hoping that there will be responses around production and increasing production, issues of transfer pricing and related issues have all not really been reciprocal to the hopes that the mining houses in Zambia are giving back. And then we've seen examples of countries in a similar situation who have been able to negotiate, even Botswana here, favorable terms for the mines' participation in their countries. When they take out your minerals, they will not be replenished. These are wasting resources. So it kind of boggles the mind why you want minimum returns on these wasting assets, which your communities and your people will not have the benefit of. Education is clearly a sector that has easier and simpler outcomes. You can simply look at the enrollments and completion rates, for example, and make your case about how changes in education reforms or resources are improving education. You put up your structures, increase your enrollment, and you have immediately positive indicators, so to say. Health is a little bit more complex. We start looking at life expectancy, and changes in life expectancy start to take a little bit longer. But that's precisely the point. If you don't make those investments that have positive change on people's health status, then you shall remain with those illnesses and conditions which affect your productivity and so on. And we look then for the indicators. Do we have health workers? Yes, okay, our health workers are being employed. More have been allowed to be employed. Do we have the necessary other inputs, that the knowledge, the information, and the products, pharmaceutical commodities that we need to be able to have hope in changing health status? Do we have information systems that are capturing this and are able to record? Unfortunately, that's where we start failing, and that's where I was saying that education is doing better than health.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Chita and Dr. Simuchimba. Thank you very much for coming through. Of the laws of Zambia in terms of the immunity also will end here. Do have a good day. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Parliament is open to members of the general public who may wish to undertake familiarization tours of Parliament buildings, either in groups or as individuals, or to attend sittings of the House or Parliamentary committees. All those wishing to visit Parliament can either write to the Clerk of the National Assembly or simply come to Parliament buildings. Upon arrival at Parliament buildings, visitors are required to identify themselves. A passport or national registration card is required for identification purposes. Those to whom permission is granted to sit in the visitors' galleries will be ushered to the appropriate galleries by protocol officers. Before gaining access to the galleries, all visitors will be issued with passes by the Security Department at the Media and Visitors Center. All visitors to parliamentary premises are required to wear smart attire, either office or casual wear. Furthermore, visitors are not allowed to take with them into the galleries such articles as walking sticks, umbrellas, briefcases, or parcels of any type, newspapers, magazines, or cellular phones. All such articles must be deposited at the reception desk. Visitors to the galleries are given copies of the order paper, which shows the order in which the business for that particular day would be taken.
Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, ZACCI, you are welcome and good morning.
Good morning, Chair.
Thank you very much. ZACCI, we are happy that you are here today where you are appearing before the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee, where we basically are looking at the estimates of revenue and the expenditure for the 2024 national budget as pronounced by the Minister of Finance and National Planning. And ZACCI, we recognize also your commitment that you have never shied away. Each time we are called, then you always come, which is commendable. So what we'll do is let's start with introductions. You introduce your team, and we'll allow the members to do a quick introduction, and then we'll start. So let's start with introductions first.
Good morning and thank you, Chair. My name is Alexander Lawrence. I'm the president of the Lusaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry, standing in for and representing Anthony Kawai, the president of Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you.
Thank you.
My colleagues on my left and right will introduce themselves.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Emmanuel Mumba. I'm a research and information officer at ZACCI. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, everyone. My name is Mlenga Mwansa, and I'm the Research and Information Officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, let me start with my far left. Honorable Mulunda, introductions.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, witness. My name is Mulunda Darius, Member of Parliament for Siavonga constituency and the chairperson for the Committee on Local Government Accounts. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, witness. I'm Honorable Engineer Alpha Mavenga, Member of Parliament for Mwawezi constituency in Western Province. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, witness. Good morning. My name is Newton Samakai, Mwinilonga constituency.
Good morning. My name is Kono Simonji, Member of Parliament for the Chipanda constituency.
Thank you, Honorable Professor.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, witness. My name is Lubusha Andrew. I'm Member of Parliament for Chipangali constituency and the Chairman for Cabinet Affairs Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mandenji.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning once more, dear honorable colleagues. Good morning, witness. My name is Mandandi Kalie, Member of Parliament for Sioma constituency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and welcome, witness. I'm Nkuluku Samwabashike, Member of Parliament for Katuba constituency and a member of the Planning and Budgeting Committee.
Thank you. Honorable Jamba.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, witness. My name is Jamba Majila. I'm MP for Mwembe.
Good morning. My name is Kalalo Mkosa, Member of Parliament for Chinsali and member of the Planning and Budgeting Committee.
Good morning. My name is Brian Kambita. I'm Member of Parliament for Zambezi East constituency. I'm Chairperson for the Committee on Parastatal Bodies.
Good morning, Chair, once again, and good morning. My name is Anthony Mumba, Member of Parliament for Kantaj, St. Mufulera District, and a member of the Budget and Planning Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, witness. My name is David Mavumba, Member of Parliament for Mwanse constituency in Auckland, a member of the Planning and Budgeting Committee. Thank you, Chair.
Remember Mtale is the name, Member of Parliament for Chitambo.
My name is Chinga Muto, representing Karab Central.
you.
And my name is Christopher Kalila, Member of Parliament for Lukulu East. Thank you.
Thank you. My best.
Thank you, Chair. Zaki, good morning. My name is Anyurenda Brenda, Member of Parliament for Lundazi constituency and the Vice Chairperson for this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, members of staff.
Good morning. My name is Mambo Jilovia from the Office of the Clerk. Thank you.
Good morning, Zaki. Karen Dot is my name, and I'm from the Office of the Clerk.
Okay, thank you. And my name is Fred Jatila, Member of Parliament for Momba constituency in Monze, also the chairperson for this committee. Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, ZACCI, as always, gives you immunity when appearing before a committee of parliament such as this one. Meaning that whatever you say whilst in this committee, that which you say cannot be used against you in any court of law. However, the same provision makes against you in an event that you are to deliberately mislead the committee, which I do hope will not be the case. And also just to indicate that we are live on both Parliamentary Radio and TV. Also people out there are following the proceedings. We have your submission, which is quite very brief, or 5 pages in fact. So allow me to give you, say, 12 minutes to take us through at most, if you need all of it, that is. And then I'll allow the members to ask questions if at all they have any. You can start, sir.
Thank you, Chair. It's a great pleasure, especially knowing that now I'll be speaking with immunity, so I'll be a loose cannon a bit.
Yeah.
Chair, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we would like to express our gratitude for being given the opportunity to come and sit before you and share a number of issues that we were asked to present. The presentation that is sitting before you has been given based on questions that were sent forth to us and asked us to respond in a particular way to the number of issues that were raised pertaining to the 2024 budget. Allow me then, as we once again express our gratitude and appreciation to the fact that this invitation was sent through to us. We will be looking at the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year concluding on the 31st of December 2024. As requested, the Chamber's comments cover the following aspects: implications of the 2024 national budget on commerce and industry, how the proposed revenue measures and tax measures are likely to impact on commerce and industry, the development of a strategy for empowerment specifically for micro, small and medium enterprises, improved access to affordable finance. Chair, on page 1 at the bottom of what I've just read, we look at pay-as-you-earn. The proposal to revise the pay-as-you-earn by a threshold, increasing the exempt threshold to 5,100 kwacha from 4,800, reducing the top rate to 37% from 37.5%. Our comments, and I state as follows: the rise in the tax threshold offers immediate relief and increases to some extent disposable income that will help in alleviating the cost of living. However, Chair and members present, as the economy continues to improve, we anticipate even greater relief, considering that the majority of people's income in August 2023 was below the JCTR basic needs and nutrition basket, which stood at 9,267 kwacha, 34 ngwe. The following item also on page 2, Chair, the Constituency Development Fund. There was a statement of increase of the allocation for the fund. That is increasing it from 4 billion to 4.8 billion. That's 30.6 million per constituency from the current 28.3 million. Our comments, Chair. This initiative will play a crucial role in addressing infrastructure development by focusing on the enhancement of the following infrastructures that we look at: roads, bridges, and the construction of schools, and even health centers, which is not included here, Chair. These improvements will not only alleviate congestions in schools, but also significantly enhance the quality of education. Additionally, it will facilitate for better access to clean water and contribute to the creation of job opportunities, which everyone speaks to. On page 3, Chair, the third item there is on the energy sector, where we're looking at the removal of customs duties on various machinery and equipment and other goods designated for geothermal energy activities. Our comments are as follows. This initiative by government will help diversify and boost the country's development of alternative and renewable energy sources. By doing so, we can reduce our dependencies on fossil fuels and progress towards energy self-sufficiency. Geothermal energy aligns seamlessly with sustainable development goals and becomes virtually cost-free once the plant is operational. On the mining sector, the position was to maintain the mining tax regime. Chair, ZACCI commends the government for maintaining a stable, predictable tax regime. In the current global establishment, where nations are competing for investment to enhance economic productivity and drive sustainable and holistic growth, a stable and predictable tax regime is amongst the most critical factors in driving investments in priority sectors such as mining. This is a long-term investment, hence the impact of this measure on economic development might not be substantial in the short to medium term, but as new mines come online and existing ones expand production, the impact, Chair, will be significant in the medium to long term. On page 4, information and technology sector. Our comment in response to the promotion of a seamless access to public service and enhanced public service delivery, we will state as follows. Utilization of ZAM portal, the ZAM portal for facilitating government service is of paramount importance in enhancing service delivery and optimizing governmental processes. Chair, this platform currently offers 280 services with additional 382 slated to be incorporated by 2024, holding the potential to significantly reduce transactional costs, eradicating bureaucratic hindrances, and enhance transparency and accountability in the public service. Strategy for empowering MSMEs. This is still on page 4, item 6. Government intends to provide targeted groups through a number of empowerment programs such as Citizen Economic Commission, Women Empowerment, Constituency Development Fund, and Youth Empowerment. The expanded availability of affordable loans facilitated by initiatives such as the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme and upcoming credit guarantee scheme set for launch in 2024, along with the establishment of industrial hubs in diverse regions, is poised to bring about a multitude of favorable outcomes for the SME sector in Zambia. We're now on page 5. These outcomes encompass enhanced financial inclusion, boosted business growth, stimulated economic growth, fortified regional development, diminished poverty levels, heightened participation of the private sector. Chair, ZACCI commends the government for initiating measures such as this. A large segment of our population draws their livelihoods from engaging in small business activities. However, Chair, They face numerous financial challenges in their quest to investigate and invest and grow their businesses. This is due to many factors such as the lack of collateral, poor credit histories, limited capacity to produce reliable financial records. As a result of the information symmetry between the SMEs and potential lenders, the lender attributes a high risk of default to the borrowers. You can see from non-performing loans from financial institutions that speak loudly to this. Many viable projects do not therefore get funded on account of either a lack of or inadequate collateral. Given the political will and policy direction, guaranteeing funds emerges as a vital mitigation measure and provides, I'm on page 6 now, Chair, providing immediate resources for SMEs to invest in the production processes. It also motivates lending financial institutions to explore new market segments. Item 7 on page 5, Chair, are the policies and legislation. One of the things that is very close to our hearts is the revision of the Employment Code of 2019. ZACCI agrees that the Employment Code of 2019 is currently a job killer, and there is need to expedite the review processes with broader participation of key stakeholders to ensure inclusivity. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Zach, for the presentation. Honourable members, questions? Okay, I'm looking at those. Okay, Honourable Mavumba.
Thank you, Chair. Zach, in your own view, the measures that have been proposed under the energy sector, what would be your thought in terms of the measures that have been proposed under the energy sector? Are they sufficient enough to unlock the potential of the energy sector in this country? When you look at the fuel pricing structure, obvious the issue of investment in the storage facilities and probably in a new petroleum pipeline, would you think they are sufficient enough? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable Nyiranda.
Thank you, Chair. Zach, I get a bit worried when I see you're just saying, I agree, I agree, I agree. I hope you're not doing a disservice to our country, Zambia. Page number 3, looking at the mining sector. You are saying Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry commends the government for maintaining a stable and predictable tax regime. In the current global establishment where our nations are competing for investment to enhance economic productivity and drive sustainable and holistic growth, a stable and predictable tax regime is among the critical factors driving investments in priority sectors such as mining. Mining today is actually a scandal because the copper, which is being exported, when it reaches its destination, it turns into gold. There is an extraction of other minerals within the copper which is being done. And your comment here, you are saying it's commendable. I don't know what your comment would be, especially that Zambians are being, they are losing out of a mineral that will not be there tomorrow. I submit.
Thank you. Honourable Nkurukusa.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Zaki, for your presentation. I think for me, I just wanted the last on other policies. I know you have even used the word job killer, quite strong. I just wanted to understand and know what could be the crucial elements of this act that you feel really kills the jobs. What would be few, maybe just factors that you think really are job killers? Thank you very much.
Okay, Zaki, you can respond to those.
very clearly that the comments that are contained here from ZACCI are in response to the questions that were sent through from the National Assembly in order to address that. So you will, if you'll understand that some questions I will answer and some questions, because of, if they are not contained in this particular document, I will not answer.
Okay.
And it's not disrespect to members of the House, but because of the document that has been set before me. If I speak out of this, then you'll quickly remove my immunity, and then you won't be there to visit me in the various places they keep us, Chair. However, I would like to start with the last one, because that affects the honourable member when he leaves Parliament to join us in the private sector. Chair, for a long time, we've had one issue, and we are beginning to see for a long time that there's been a position where we feel business is being punished for running business and creating employment opportunities. The level at which we are engaged when certain decisions are made has left us in a quandary and has left us exposed, because our comments and our decisions are never taken to the fullest expectation. The honourable member is leaving, and I've got to answer her question. I'm also a president, Chair, so you know. Thank you.
No, I'll manage, it's fine. It's a question for the members. She's dashing somewhere, so I've given her the permission.
Okay, with due respect, you can go. He'll carry my...
So I've managed, yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Right. So, the last one, I think if you remember in 2019, we shouted from the rooftops where the minimum wages were being increased. We looked at where the issues from the transport sector, the shop floor, that hurt us a lot. And it hurt us a lot because at the same time, the taxes, the operating costs were affecting us. It led to a point, and this is where the comment also, which, to borrow your words, job killer. A number of industries, and you will see the number of industries that have closed. You go to the shopping malls, you will see that the cost of labor increased because people could not afford it. The cost of rentals went up and people could not afford it. So the only way out was for them to close down. We had challenges in that area, and we're still sitting down with the ministry responsible to say, let us relook at this. But in relooking at it, we need broader participation, because on the labor issues, as we look at that, particularly with the revision of the employment code, the representation from the private sector is minimal. There's heavier representation from government and minimal representation. There are about only 2, 3 when you've got, I think, 6 or 9 representatives from the government perspective. So that doesn't argue very well in terms of negotiations, because then it is only the interests of a particular section that is taken into account and not of the operatives of business. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then on the mining, Chair, why we have taken this position to issue this statement, and bearing in mind part of the statement the honourable member raised also relates to the element, and more on the element, of value addition. Right now what we're looking for is a consistent policy position, and if you don't have a consistent policy, it scares investors. You will see that over time, I think in the last 8 to 9 years, we have had about 12 to 15 changes in our tax regime. That hasn't argued very well for us. It does not come through in the right way. What we're doing now is setting a tone for predictability, because when it comes to investment, you want to be able to predict an investment climate. We have not been able to attract the right kind of investment over a period of time in the mining sector because of inconsistent policies, and the tax regime has been one of those. So the moment we get this, and we can graduate it slightly over time, we still give room, and it's a platform which we are still arguing also for, is value chain to be established from source. Value addition does become a pertinent issue. But right now, it's the consistent policy that leads, particularly with our tax regime, that sets the tone for what we're looking for. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, can you attempt the energy sector issue? Question?
Chair.
That is under item number 3 of your submission.
Okay. You will see that we have. Do you want me to go? I can carry on. Chair, thank you. You will note that we say that this gives room for the diversification and boosting of the development of alternative energy sources. So for us, it's a given that this is an encouragement for the development of the sector. I'm happy with what is going to happen, and it's a starting point for us, Chair.
Thank you. The item number 6, in terms of the empowerment of these MSMEs, obviously we are nodding to the fact that this is a good move. But again, you have indicated, in fact, in your comments, that the worry which is there is the high level of non-performance of these loans. Sometimes we find 90%, 95% default rate. I'm sure you know what is happening at the CAC, where loans are given out and the repayments is very, very bad. In your view, is it a mindset issue from us, whereby if you get this facility, you have no responsibility to pay? Or are you alluding that to maybe the issues maybe of interest rates and the like, and what you have in fact, I want to believe like at CEC level, they will not give you a loan if you don't have the collateral, for example. Those are limiting factors, so which is excluding the others. But those who are given, even when they meet these, you still see them performing very badly. Is it a mindset issue? Yeah, you can.
Chair, thank you for the question, and I think you've seen the smile on my face because you're providing a platform for me to give us response to this. The challenge that we have is discipline in business. The challenge that we have, as you stated, is a mindset issue. The biggest deterrent to the growth of the sector has been one element on the mindset issue, that is entitlement and dependency syndrome. The facilities that are being given have a responsibility towards it. And unfortunately, for most of us, we are not used to the thing of accountability. What you get, you need to account for. What you get, you need to show evidence of production. What you get, you need to show results. And unfortunately, the business environment, and Chair, hear me loud and clear, the business environment in the country has been too heavily politicized. The SME space itself has also been politicized. And we tend to hide behind the political jacket when it comes to accountability. That Zambia needs to dispense with. That we need to change. And it is, Chair, it is a mindset issue. We are needful to have a system where if a facility is given, two things need to happen. And this is what we've been advocating for in the recent past, that anybody who applies for a facility, whether it's a grant or anything, must go through two things: a mentoring system, financial mentoring, business mentoring, and also an incubation period, because that will generate responsibility. And my cry and our cry is that no financial institution should give out any facility without ensuring that people have gone through a mentoring program, incubation program, because once you've done that, you bring about accountability. Once you've done that, we then begin to show that we have the results. I was asked not too long ago in one of our committee meetings, Chair, about the fact that Zambia has not produced a billionaire that has come from the SMEs. I would like to be able to see that being done now, to show that we empower people with the right kind of information, the right kind of empowerment programs. It's not just for mileage that we're looking for, but for growth of the business sector. That is what is important, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ZACCI. This is where we come to the end of our interactions with yourselves. Thank you very much once again for coming. Chapter 12 of the laws of Zambia in terms of the immunity, that which was granted to you earlier on, will also end here. Do enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Chair, I think you're very unfair. I was hoping that it can go up to 12:30 because people think. But I want to thank all members for giving us the opportunity to speak and share. Although most of you were quiet, we were hoping for more engagement. But thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
But the unfortunate occurrences in the House with regards to members' conduct. Further, I would like to take this opportunity to remind members of Parliament, and by extension, the nation, about the importance of observing the highest standard of discipline and ensuring that the House is treated with the highest honor it deserves. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have all observed with dismay the conduct of some members of Parliament in the August House, which is contrary to the laid down rules and procedures in the House. It is very unfortunate that some members have gone to the extent of challenging, disrespecting, and openly attacking presiding officers, as well as issuing defamatory remarks against parliamentarians, both on the floor of the House and on social media. According to the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021, this type of behavior is defined as gross disorderly conduct, which means behavior that disrupts the proceedings of the House, shows serious disrespect to the presiding officer and another member, or brings the House into disrepute, ridicule, and contempt. Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as members have the constitutional right to freely express themselves when they feel their privileges are infringed upon, including certain rights, powers and immunities as prescribed under the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act, members should not in any way abuse this privilege. By so doing, members will be committing an offense of breach of privilege and may be punished by the House. Therefore, it is expected that when expressing their grievances, members need to strictly observe and adhere to parliamentary rules and procedures. Ladies and gentlemen, in view of the foregoing, it may interest you to know that since its inception, Parliament has been using established and appropriate platforms and tools that members ought to follow in order to express themselves. To this effect, allow me to remind members of the need to acquaint themselves with the following parliamentary documents to avoid conducting themselves in an acceptable manner. Number 1, the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia. Number 2, the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021, especially Standing Orders 203, Standing Orders 204, Standing Orders 205, which outline the conduct of members, parliamentary decorum, etiquette, and gross disorderly conduct respectively, and the National Assembly Members Handbook. Further, I would like to urge the members to use appropriate platforms to present their grievances, which include the Committee on Privileges and Absences, as well as the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, all of the aforementioned mechanisms and tools are at the members' disposal. Therefore, it is very unacceptable for an honorable member of Parliament to behave contrary to prescribed rules and procedures. To this end, I strongly urge members of Parliament to desist from behaving in a disorderly manner, both in the House and outside the House, including on social media and other platforms. This will ensure that we build public trust in members and the institution of Parliament as a whole. It will further enable members of Parliament execute their constitutional mandates effectively and efficiently, as well as live up to their befitting honorable title to the expectation of the public. I thank you for your kind attention.
Parliament TV, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Mutima wezo kupya nebo beni Samutingi just like a fufu vepe. Ni hapa iwe, funoni pwete. Behavior ya kwesane kumbuse wakare. Ubangarawe, unterereko. Ugoyo, ikatwaliza kujere. Lasuriyege, ungayege. Beta singo, it is better. Hey, 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 beta nikakote singo lebo. Univutisa mutima, beta nikakote singo lebo. Mutima wale kali papa no mawali dalala. Hey, 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 beta nikakote singo lebo. Beta univutisa mutima, beta nikakote singo lebo. Mutima wale kali papa no mawali dalala. Nane mwine ndi wa mulomo wa papele na fumine mukulila. Shila tipwishe no kulosha na ipunga muli winyango. Ndichite tite mwikoli mochi sangu shechipua. Papa bebe sina kuwa. Nina vitamu nina kula. Ninaona vosa ona. Niboza muntu huni nama. Bayoni nama. Shire yuka uende. Finifuna nitwalika mutuneo. Melangu mama zipaya tifungo dalabu. Osazipaya iwe chifukwa kukana muntu. Ukazipaya lelo. Alina wina mailo. Bafu abantu bashala bantu. Nina mama kundala kata nishingiyo kalala. Beta nikakote singo lebo. Beta nikakote singo lebo. Mutima wale kali papa no mawali dalala. Hey, 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 beta nikakote singo lebo. Beta univutisa mutima, beta nikakote singo lebo. Mutima wale kali papa no mawali dalala. Ngati wabwela zamela za mutima wanga na papa tani wale. Sinifuno ni kumusamba kudala. Ninayo walago. Neno nina mawa kudala pata nishindino kwa lala. Natufuno ni zamela za mutima yani na papa tani walego. Nikakumbuka kudala. Sina mweleleko. Neno nina mawa kudala pata nishindino kwa lala.
Ndanya Music Promotion, take over. Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah. My name is Jubero. Aliense, alinako kamusa. come. Let he without sin be the first to trust on me. To live and to fear, to live in a kuleva. Kulebe and a bad was solola. The ushanga uza kolola. Kolola. Natumu konda muyako. Akalaka uzamuza. Suza endo mukamba kumbali. Uzamuluza. Life singa mabe. Singa kale. Kulibe forgiveness. Poseti malakwa. Nakupemba. Nakupema.